Well, great. Well, welcome. Welcome, everyone. I'm Roseann Hanson. I'll be introducing myself at the beginning of our little slideshow. This is Around the World in 80 Animals. Number 10, our last one. So our 80th animal is a really fun one. And as always, please, if you have any questions during the program, uh, can't see something, I just like things are going wonky. Please just say it verbally. I cannot access the chat while I'm doing the sketch and show. So please do that. If you can also turn off your videos during the part where I'm presenting, because that helps me with the bandwidth as well and the recording. And yes, it is recorded, and I will post it on my website probably by the end of today or tomorrow, depending on how quickly I can get to the edits. So I will be starting with a slideshow, or doing it on a slideshow. For those of you who are new, we spend about 15 minutes per animal. We're not doing scientific illustration. We're not trying to draw perfect rendition. We're capturing the essence of the animals. And so we're going to focus on shapes and proportions and getting as much down as we can, maybe starting with some color. You don't want to do color, don't worry about it. I often just go back and finish my color later because 15 doesn't give you a lot of time. So let me share my great. Around the World in 80 Animals, Birds, Mammals, Monotremes, and More. And this is number 10, what I call wild cards, meaning we're going to go all over the planet and kind of pick up some things that we didn't catch before and some really fun ones. I'm Roseann Hanson. A lot of you know me, and I really appreciate you being here and the time we spend together. I'm the author of Nature Journaling for a Wildlife, Master of Field Arts, and our magazine we launched last year, Exploration Quarterly, which has loads of field arts things in it too. We are going to start with our first critter now in Brazil. And what do we have here? This is interesting. A frog, but not just any frog. This is the world's smallest frog. It is the miniature lead toad. It is a frog, not a toad. It is in the order Anura, and it is just a quarter of an inch in size. Look at that. And endemic to the Atlantic forest, which is it's disappearing so quickly. This is an endangered species. It croaks, but sounds more like a cricket because he's so little, but it is a fully formed frog. And it can jump 32 times its own size. So let's get this guy sketched into our notebooks. I've been using pencil. It's a little more forgiving, so you can get your shapes in and then focus on getting it more solidly sketched in, maybe with pens, maybe not at all. I mean, maybe no, don't use pen, only pencil. You can also go direct watercolor for those of you brave enough. So I'm going to put this guy right in here. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to sketch him super tiny because that would be really hard. So here's basically my space where I want to put him. And what I'm going to do is I want to kind of get the main body shape. And then the head is kind of I'm just going to kind of sketch in, it's not so much a circle, it's this roundy triangle-y shape. Here, kind of narrow like that. And then go ahead and just plop in his, do some ovals for the legs to sort of hold that space for the legs. So we quickly kind of have our frog shape. And now I'm going to refine, sketching a little more solidly. Coming in here, get that nose. Don't forget that eye bump. And don't be afraid to come in, and we'll be pulling off some of the uh, graphite from the pencil, just because it messes up the watercolor if you have too much graphite, if you're going to do watercolor. And he's got his mouth open. So I want to kind of show that. And pull that off there. And then placing the eye is really critical on all our critters. So here's the eye bump for his offside eye. And so his other eye is going to be kind of right in that area. See, I'm doing dot, dot, dot. So now I'm going to want to place that eye really carefully. And he's got a really dark pupil there. Pretty large for his head size. And then I've got his front leg coming down, and you can just barely see two toes, like so, kind of like so. And you see I'm pulling off some of the graphite already. Just to kind of help with the placements. And then he's got the hind legs, you want to put that break right there because it's folded over. And then it comes out and you see a toe there, a long toe there, and just a little bit there. And then we're going to follow this around here. You've got the break. So there's the kind of fold there. And you can see, just barely see his toes around that side. So I'm not going to go too much detail there. The perspective is a little weird on the photo. I think the photo is a little bit oblique. So I'm actually just going to leave it and not show quite as much of the toes, because I think it would, he's kind of splayed out a little bit. Now let's give him sitting on something here, so he's not just floating on the page. But that's so weird, that's up there. So I think the photo was taken from above like that. So it's kind of maybe not put a background in, because that just looked weird, didn't it? One of the challenges of sketching a species from a photo, but you don't always have the perfect view. So let's be sure to put our species name. This is the miniature flea toad. Which isn't a toad. It is a frog. In the Anura order, and it's 6.9 millimeters or 0.27 inches. And it's endemic to Brazil. Specifically the Atlantic forest, which is a specific forest, kind of a cloud forest, which is fast disappearing. So these guys are endangered. So I think since he's got a lot of dark going on, I'll be able to use my watercolor to good effect. And you want to darken that eye. And then let's just get a wash going. I've got my watercolor here. I use my minimalist approach. So my cyan, magenta, yellow. Oops, where is it? There it is. Cyan, blue, magenta, and yellow are my primaries. And get that scooched in. I'm going to mix a brown. And the best way to mix a brown, for me anyway, unless you have one in your palette, is actually to mix all three primaries together. I'll get a really lovely brown. There we go. Getting browner. And then I'm going to throw in maybe even just a little burnt sienna in the mix, and that'll give me that russety color. Oops, should have wiped that off, but I'm going to wet this. Don't forget to leave some bright spots. This is the graphite. I should have taken a bit more graphite off. I'm going to leave this part. Come on, iPhone. Very pale. But you can see that lovely color there. But I don't want to color it all in. I want to leave some light spots to show kind of the highlight, right? It's hard to remember to reserve those bright spots. And the bright spots from the shiny wet skin are going to be, see, there should have been more there. They're going to be at the high points of the body. The phone just doesn't want to focus, does it? It wants to focus on the paint, so I'm going to pull that off. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll be able to come in. Even now, let's see what happens if I drop in a little bit more of the burnt sienna to sort of give some more depth to his body. See, that looks really nice. You see that you get a base layer going, and then you get some Can drop in some other colors to enhance. While it's still wet, that works really well. Isn't he just so cute? And then we want to be sure to put, make sure I get that nice and wet. Be sure to put the size of this guy. All right, whoop, got to pay attention to the time here. Be sure to put, he is only, let's just call it, I like to put these, like a measure. We're going to use inches here in the US, 0.25 inches. Holy cow. And then the barest hint of his, I don't want really, really dark on that. His open mouth. So I'm just going to use a little bit of pigment, not much. And it will be darker in the back. Let's see how that looks. And then I might use some white gouache to bring up some of these highlights, but I'm going to let him dry for a bit, and I'll have to come back and kind of enhance that, because we're going to move on to our next species already. Look at that palette, it has loads of that lovely brown. So I use the the true primary colors, which are cyan, magenta, yellow, because I can make any color I need from those, including red, orange. I can make dark blues, warm blues. Okay, let's keep moving. All right, where are we going next? Well, we're going to stay in South America, and we are heading up to Peru to visit this amazing critter. This is actually a new species discovered recently by a Conservation International team in the Alto Mayo jungles of, it's kind of a jungles, wetlands, and mountains between the Andes and the Amazon. And this is an exceedingly rare aquatic and amphibious rodent. He has webbed feet and eats aquatic insects and is very cute. So I think that's just amazing that we can have new species in this day and age. Really, really cool. So how are we going to represent this fuzzy critter? Basically, what you want to do, I'm going to tuck him kind of right in here, and he's just kind of got this round body shape going on, kind of an egg here. That's just so I got, okay, I've got that placed on I barely did that on my page. And then what I want to do is his head is sort of an oval, and just sort of place those two together like that. Then you want to emphasize he's fuzzy. And I'm going to remove some of that graphite. So to emphasize his fuzzy, when you sketch him, don't do a solid line, just run some, and since he's gray, the graphite's going to be fine. See how I'm just doing little suggestions of his fur instead of a solid line, and that will really help you to get across the idea that he's a fuzzy guy. Now, let's get that nose emplaced right at the tip here. It's kind of got a nostril up high. And then you want to slide over, and that eye is quite high on the head, a little bit obscured by all the whiskers. And imagine all this fur. So we want to get that marked in. So we've got, yeah, that looks pretty good. And then that ear, all just about all in a row, a little tiny ear coming in here. And then again, he's got, you want to show he's really fuzzy. And then pull his mouth down. He's got just a little pooch there. And then his little mouth is open. And you can barely see a tooth there, but we're not going to get lost in the details. And then we can bring that in. I'm not going to do the whiskers so much yet. I might do a few like so. After I color him in with some grays and things, and I can use a gel pen to pull out some of the, maybe show some of the white. He's just got whiskers all over the place. And they radiate, don't they? Okay. And then let's get this this foot in here. Just barely show his little toes. And he's got, you can just barely trace up his leg there. And we're just going to barely suggest his back here because you can barely see it, maybe a little toes there. And then there's another, his toes there. So this is his chest fur coming down. Probably could have done his neck a little longer here. Just to suggest that there. And let's get our.
Hi, Roseann.
Yeah,
Sorry to interrupt you,
no,
but
no.
is there a chance you can make the photo a little bit bigger?
Oh, sure thing. I usually do that and I forgot. There we go.
Thank you so
He's out
much.
of focus here, so you're just, which actually kind of helps with grabbing the shape, I think. I would focus on his kind of head and that interesting uh all those whiskers probably help in his tracking down prey. So we are, this is the, sorry, aquatic mouse, Daptomes. It's a new species. Hasn't even been officially named yet. Um, so he doesn't have a sexy name. And I forgot to put the species name of our flea toad, our miniature toad. So I'll have to come back and add the genus and species. And in the meantime, I kind of made him a little, I didn't plan to, I did made him a little bit too too big. So I can actually write some of the information in here and leave it blank. So, I mean, not color it. That works. So this is new species. And this is the, sorry, I keep having to pull that over. This is Alto Mayo in the Alto region of Peru.
Roseann, do we know how big he is?
I forgot to write that down, didn't I? He's a mouse size, so a few ounces and a few inches. I will double check that, but there's almost nothing about him yet. I mean, this is a brand new species. It's one of the only photos in existence. It's really cool that we're still finding new species, but he's definitely mouse sized. Um, and he's amphibious. How cool is that? Which is really rare for mice. So let's go in. We can start with just get some flesh colored pinky nose. So what I did was I took some magenta and barely touched some yellow in it, so it's not like super pink, although that nose has some pink going on. But it's kind of dirty too. And then I'm going to mix some gray by doing a burnt sienna and then my dark, dark blue, which is indanthrone. Pull some out of there so that I can make it really watery. And then I'm going to just do a base. Oh, you know what I forgot? I gotta leave that ear fleshy color. I forgot that. So let me just get, I should have maybe wet it all first. So I'm going to try to work quickly. So I don't get too many hard edges. So right now I'm just doing, I just want the base color. And see, I got a little bit of a hard edge there. So I'm going to go in and try to enhance that. See how I'm just dropping the color in as I go to try and approximate that kind of fuzzy look. Keep that water flowing. And then it's going to be darker. Where his little arms are. Oops, it's already drawing. I'm here in the desert where its humidity is ridiculously low. We're all suffering from horrible dust allergies just from the awful dryness. So let's put his little chin there. Doing color quickly is really hard. So I'm gonna, hopefully I won't wreck his eye here. There. And this ear. I'm gonna let that dry. I'll have to come back later and darken some of this here to enhance that kind of chin, if you will, like that. And then define his legs a little better. But I think that's a good start. And then I can come in with, if you have a gel pen like this, I think the Signo Uniball is one of the best. Excuse me, I see dryness. I'm suffering from a little bit of a bloody nose right now. So pardon me. So we can add some of the whiskers with the gel pen, or if your gel pen's not working, I sometimes use the charcoal, white charcoal. It's not dry enough though. So let's wait on that. And I think it's time to move on to our next species. So if you need to get the info there, is carnivorous, or let's call it insectivorous. And we don't have exact info on the size, but I would call them just basic mouse size. All right, let's keep moving. Where are we going next? We are heading over to Asia and to, yay, Dixie. Dixie, thanks for recommending this and reminding me. The Pallas's cat. The original grumpy cat. Let me move my talking head here. Hopefully this will not obscure. Let me know if that's obscuring something. I keep trying to move it around. I would turn it off, but then I can't tell if my video feed fails. So just tell me if you need me to move my head. So this is uh 18 to 20 inch fluffy, really fluffy, small medium cat found in Central Asia, from the Caucasus to the Himalayas. And check out the stats on the fur. The density of the fur up to 9,000 hairs per square centimeter. That's how it can survive in the cold, cold climate. Incredibly dense fur. And now it eats rodents and rabbits, lagomorphs. So how do we draw this? Come on, no, there we go. How do we draw this really interesting but very fluffy animal? Let me move some things around here. Sorry, give you guys seasickness. It's kind of hard to fit everything in. Come on. The screen. There we go. So I have this space. You might have a bigger notebook. I just stick with the same notebook. And what I want to do is make sure I get the proportions right. I'm going to move this talking head, hopefully. That won't obscure anything for you guys. So to get the proportions right, we want to make sure we mark, okay, here's the back side of the cat. Let's mark that. And then we're going to estimate, maybe this is where we want the leg to be. And then the key thing is to get the head the right proportion. So we're going to draw a rounded inverted triangle. Because that's really what this cat's head is saying to me. And it has so much fur and fluff around the ruff around his cheeks, as it were. We want to make sure we get that size right. So I'm going to use that measure uh, trick where I'm actually looking at the width of his head, including all the fluff across his ears at the top. And then I'm going to measure from his side of his front leg how many head widths he is. So I'm measuring 1, 2. So the widest part of his body. So here's the width from ear to ear. And then if I put this at the front, I want to make sure there, I did. The proportion is right. It's 2 widths wide. So I did get that right. And now how tall, I'm going to measure, see how I'm doing that, how many heads tall he is. So there's like there, down, plus a little. So here's where I want to put the base here. And now we've got sort of a cat shape. Again, he's fluffy like the others, and so don't want to scribe a solid line. Just do some scrabbles like that. I don't think they have much of a tail, kind of like a bobcat, as far as I know. I need to double check that. Does anyone know? I forgot to double check that on when I was doing the research. So we got his toes there. There's another foot here.
Their tail is 8 to 10 inches long.
Thank you. I completely forgot that. All right. We'll be sure to write that in. Just going to sort of mark his back leg there. Now that head. What we want to do is anchor. Oop, I've got to make this bigger. Sorry. How's that? Much better. Okay. We want to get this anchored in here. So let's get those ears are really important. Doesn't come down like that. Just barely above the head. So he doesn't have really proud ears. And that fur just obscures everything. And then the face is quite scrunched and tight. So we're going to put, you want to get that nose in. And there's that dark band over the nose. I want to just sort of mark that. It's kind of very specific to this, very clear on this species. So then I think what makes him look like a grumpy cat is how the mouth sort of turns down. And then he's got this fuzzy chin, if you will. Don't be afraid to, pull off your graphite. And then you want to just barely dot, dot, dot. The eyes are quite close to the nose. There's something interesting too about the way the fur marks come off. See that? Come off the eye. So just barely note in. That really helps get that, the grumpy cat look. could spend a lot of detail on the face. We don't want to spend a ton of time. So I'm going to, boy, this is really a challenge to get the eye just right. You want to put your irises in, but very carefully. That's not bad. Um, and then we'll hit some of these markings with our watercolor. But he's just got so much for fluffy.
Roseann,
Yeah,
I don't know if somebody mentioned he does have a tail. It looks like it's about a foot long, and he often warms his feet by putting them on his tail.
perfect. Yeah, I think 8 to 10 is what somebody suggested as
Okay.
that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And so they wrap it around, use it like a muff. So we can just go crazy with all this fur markings, but um, again, we're fast sketching here. Um, he's got just barely, you can see the hint of legs in here. His hind leg haunched in there. I think I didn't quite place this right. His toe. And see how you can refine shape. And I think we've got a pretty good shape there. Um, I think he's got quite like bobcats, quite a lot of on the side of his jaws, a lot of fur coming down to give that shape. And then, whoops, he's so cute. So we want to reserve. I'm going to have to put a little line of squitches in here. We want to reserve that white chin as much as possible. So I do this very pale, but there's a lot of white, there's a lot of red. I'm going to put down, well, first of all, before I forget, I'm just going to do barely a touch of yellow, very golden, greeny yellow on the eye so I don't forget. And then I'm going to wet the body so I try not to get any hard and reserve that white. Oh, and the pink nose. Whoa, almost forgot the pink nose. Now, there's a lot of gray in the head. So I'm going to just make it very, don't want to color it in all the way. Be sure to reserve, there's a lot of white under the eyes. And white chin, and then some rufous going on as well. Get that. I got a little bit of rufous going up, that rufous on his cheeks. See how you can do that? I'm gonna throw, I love the burnt sienna because I can just do so much with it. If I put a very light burnt sienna in all that wet.
Roseanne, you use burnt sienna a whole lot, and I'm wondering when your love affair with burnt sienna started.
Right, right away. I mean, partly it's because I'm in the desert Southwest, and that's a good color for a lot of what I do. But it's a very useful pigment. For one thing, it doesn't stain. I can move it around. See that? Um, you can add dark blue to it to make it turn into gray or black. You can use it, add a little magenta to it, and it turns into like an adobe color. Pretty useful. But see how I sort of, then I can add a little bit of the gray. Hey, kind of looking kind of fat there. I need to darken this up because that's not a pot belly. That's funny. So again, with the gray, this is so very forgiving because it's the burnt sienna. It's a very forgiving color. Now, how do I make sure he's not? Now that isn't like 100% white, so we might have, throw in a little gray there to show his chin. And then this, I'll see if I can, pull this so we're not, that's a hard one. I think I messed that, didn't quite do it right. We'll see how, I'm going to let that dry. Whoop, and come back. But I like the mottled look there. And again, we can spend so much time on these guys. We're trying to get them in 15 minutes. So that's a 15-minute there. And we mostly got the grumpy face. I think he's a little too friendly looking. So, maybe later I come back and I can do something more. He has got that kind of dark brow there. So yeah, that helps to, I'm gonna pull that look down. So this is number 3. I have, it's very wet, so I'm gonna put that down. This is number 3, Palace Cat. And what is our information? Otocolobus. That's an interesting genus. Otocolobus manual. And this is, he's like, let's just say 18 to 26 inches and only 5 to 9 pounds. So cat, good sized cat, small to medium, probably looks really big. And then if you were to touch one, it would probably like go poof, and he'd be only this big because of all that fur. And then a fur density, 9,000 hairs per centimeter squared. Oh my heavens. And he's in Central Asia. And they're a least concerned species. They're not super endangered. But because they are so secretive. All right. Wow, we're doing really well on time here for once. Once this is dry, I can come back And just using the graphite, I can add more of the cap marks. And if I wanted, I can enhance the furriness too. But I like kind of how that went down. And I was successful in getting his white chin and ruff there too. So, hey, where are we going next, Mr. Palace Cat? Oh, we're going to flip around now, all the way down to New Zealand. And again, Dixie, thank you. We are meeting. This actually is a very specific animal known as Shirako. He is a kakapo, and he is basically a very important ambassador advocate for the species of owl-faced parrot. He's quite old. They actually live a very long time, up to 100 years, they think. But they're highly endangered, critically endangered. They're endemic to New Zealand. There are only 244 left. And they are the only flightless parrot and the world's heaviest parrot at up to 6.5 or so pounds. Interestingly, they have a polygynous lek breeding system, and that is one male will have kind of a harem of multiple females, and the males compete in displays. So interesting system of breeding there. So I'm going to put Mr. Shirako over here. And what you basically want to do for capturing is the head is the most important. So how big? I'm going to make the head about yay big. I'm just a light circle. We're going with shapes. And then do just kind of a bullet pair thing just to get the proportions right.
Excuse me, Roseann.
Yeah.
Would you mind enlarging the
Oh,
photo
sure.
page
Yeah,
a
keep
bit
reminding
more?
me. How's that?
Thank you.
Good? Yeah.
Great.
There we go. So we want to, you can barely see this, so I just want to kind of mark the head shape, and then I keep losing my eraser. Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. Then we have this kind of bullety body. Like so. Just check your proportions. And then there's sort of a tail. I don't have a lot of details on this, but I'm not going to spend a ton of time. You know, you can really get in the weeds doing his whole too many feathers and things. And what I want to do is show also these crazy, I believe they have zygodactyl feet, 2 forward, 2 back. Don't get, too caught up in all these details, but these are pretty significant feet. So I just want to make sure I place them before I totally forget. Make sure I indicate at least something that he's holding on to. He's kind of holding on to a bunch of branches, but I just want to make sure I anchor that so he doesn't appear to be floating on nothing. All right. Now it's that face we want to focus on. So get that beak placed and just do a triangle. Make sure it's a little low down, not exactly in the center. And then he's got the nares. I think that's what they're called. And then get those eyes placed. So you've got kind of a bridge going like so. And just do kind of half spheres. Don't try to do a circle because they're on the sides of his head. So we're only seeing part of the bulbous bit. And then what we want to be sure to capture is just start this owl disc. Just start doing some lines like that. It comes up off like so and creates this significant disc. It's not a hard line though. These are feathers. So go ahead and just use a little bit of squishy lines. This is where some of your pencil can be your friend. And then the rest of it is these are going to be feathers like little groups, and then there's some bright yellow behind that. But this is good. I don't think you need to spend a ton of time drawing every detail of his body. We can approximate that just using marks. And it looks like he's got some long feathers here in the chest area. And again, I don't want to like totally get, we're doing quick captures. We don't want to get too deep in this, but I think that really captures his look. Forgot the marks there. And don't forget to name him. This is our owl-faced parrot. And in Maori, it is Kakapo. I think that's right. And he's up to, what was it, like 6 pounds? Oh, yeah, up to 6.5 pounds, 6.8 pounds. They're flightless. Critically endangered. And there's only 244 left. And this guy's name is Shrako. Let's get some color going. I can do a few more details in a bit, but let me clean this palette here. It's just full of grays from our Palace's cat and aquatic mouse. So the first thing I'm going to do is because I'm working from a limited palette, you may have a pre-mixed green that works great for this, but I'm going to lay down a wash of yellow pretty much over everything. Pale yellow. And I'll show you why that works for me. But I'm going to feather it in here a little bit. Unintended. Since it doesn't look like there's a lot of color in that, in his owl disc, I'm going to leave that for now. Oh, I should have kept some of that gray. Maybe I can pull some. Yeah, I was able to get some out of the corner for his nares, and then just the edges of his bill. And it's kind of a, here I go. I'm using that burnt sienna. Yep, I know. It's funny. It's like, oh, there she goes again. Because just with a tiny bit of it, I can enhance that area above, which is not fully, it's like more browny than yellow. There, see how that works for me. And also mixing it a little bit with just very, very tiny bit of yellow, I can get that buffy look. That's why I like my burnt sienna. Yeah, that worked.
Maybe you could create a Hanson's burnt sienna.
Just like doesn't Jane Blundell have, what is it? Oh, I can't remember her one. Oh no, I'd never compare
He
myself.
has like Jane's gray and
That's
a
a
couple
Jane
of other
Grey,
colors.
Payne's gray and Jane's gray. So I'm putting a very pale of my pure cyan, which is manganese, and then I can go in and create these, the look of the feathers here, the green. And that way I can leave bits of yellow showing through, and you get much more the look we're after. Really interesting species, isn't it? I think being flightless is working against them though now with they're really endangered by like cats and invasive species. So that just doesn't work in their favor. Looks like the tail has hey, it's the burnt sienna again. Again, mixing it with a tiny bit of the blue gives me a browny gray to come back. And those feet look like blue-gray. So I'm going to use the cyan and hit it with a little bit of burnt sienna. So you see how that we get more of the gunmetal blue-gray thing. And if it's too blue, I can always come back over it. Later. All right. I'm gonna need to let him dry. And then I can come back and drop in, just maybe hit it with just a little bit of dark. The these little highlights here, but I don't want to do a lot. Like so. But it's pretty much time to move on. I will come back later and finish that, but he looks pretty good. Can add some texture to his feet if we want, but a super cool species. But it's time now to move on. Hopefully you guys got as much as you could of Kakapo. Kakapo. Yes, he's very, very cute. But now we need to move on. We're heading to the Philippines. What are we doing here? This is a super cool species. Doesn't he look like something right out of Lord of the Rings? Like Gollum had to have been taken from this Philippine tarsier.
Or Yoda's face from Star
Yoda,
Wars.
that's it. Yoda more so, doesn't it? There is my talking head not covering anything. I want to make sure it's not blocking it. So
That's great.
Okay, great. So it's known as a haplorhine or dry-nosed primate, and it's the only 100% carnivorous or insectivorous primate restricted to maritime Southeast Asia. And they live in liana forests, which is why they've got those grasping fingers and toes. And the eyeballs are so huge in comparison for their head that they are, in some cases, larger than their entire brain. So they can also move their head 180 degrees. Interesting, very long tail. And the hind limbs are actually twice as long as the front, but they're all tucked up in the photo. So let's look at how we might sketch this guy. Let's see. Come on, nope. There we go. I need to reorient my camera, so bear with me. So you can see I'm starting with an all new spread. I turned the page. So I'm going to put him, I want to show his tail. So I'm actually going to do, I think I'm going to do a less detailed of the long one with his tail showing, because I think that's kind of significant. And I'm going to run it down this side of my page. So the first thing I want to do is anchor it with that funny head shape so I get the proportions right. And it's like a kind of like a triangle like that. And then I'm just estimating here that body. If you measure the head, I'm going ear to ear. And then I'm going to go from his butt to the top of the head is like 1.5. So head width from his rear back up is like 1.5. So, whoops, I needed to mark that first. So I want to make that, I'm just going to do a little oval here. See that, just to measure, get my proportions right. Head, 1, it's a bit, even a bit, it's too big, so I can tuck it in a little bit there. And then let's didn't quite get want to get the liana that he's on. Comes right up. like so. And that helps with the sketch there. So we've got what we want to do here. Let's get his face sketched in. I've got a little button nose, like so. And then the mouth and chin, like so. And then the way he's kind of, in this case, the chin is a little obscured by the arm there that's reaching. It's kind of bunched up, reaching across. But that button nose then barely want to move up. And notice, okay, so go ahead and sketch like the eyeball is going to be way like that back there. See how I did that? But that's not what we're going to finish drawing because it's hooded. So what we want to do is like so, and I may have got that a little bit big. So go ahead and I can alter that a little bit. And he has, it's hard to see in the photo, but he has one little pinprick irises. I see now I've got those too close together. You just want little. It just barely shows. And then you can just barely see kind of these, the shape of the actual eyeball behind, just barely touching, and then little tiny ears. It is totally Yoda. And I'm just suggesting some shapes here. Didn't quite get that iris right, so I want to remove some of that because it's, boy, getting those right is so important. I'm just barely dotting it there. And then we want to, this little fuzzy body comes around. And you've got kind of the hind end there, the tail comes off there. And then I could spend a ton of time on the detail of his feet and fingers, but I don't want to get too much in those weeds.
And
So
gosh, look how his tail is at least maybe twice as big,
it's
as
twice
long as
as
his.
more than twice as long. It says 10 to 15 centimeters long for the tail,
Wow,
and his body is not nearly that. So probably really important
crazy.
for balance for climbing. And so crazy interesting little toes. He's got, you can see this one's wrapping around. You can see his big fat kind of thumb, if you will, if you call it that. And this one, this arm comes around, just draw some fingers like so. He's got cute little thumb. And then this hand, if you will, arm comes up. Does definitely looks like a little human hand. So finger going across here, across here. Just focus on shapes. Do some long ovals for the fingers. Don't get too bogged down right now. Because remember, we're doing fast sketch. I'm already kind of bogged down. Yeah. Feel like I got his eyes are just not quite right. Um, boy, that's a tough one. Button nose. But don't get too concerned with too many details. I think he's good enough. Head looks really big. Yeah, I think I'm good with this. I might, be so tempted to noodle that face until I've just made a mess of it. So we need some brown and some kind of he's kind of a tawny. So guess what? Haha. Yes, burnt sienna. And then watch what you can do with the burnt sienna here. If you toss in some of your yellow, whoops, that's too much, and really water it down, we're going to get that tawny. So I'm going to want that tawny browny color. I'm wetting it all first. Try to remember. Let's get some pink in here. And I'm just going to do it just a pale pink fingers and toes, although that's not mixed, it's not playing well with the graphite. I'll knock back that pink later, but this just helps me. I'll cover that pink with more brown later, but let's get the base down of his, see that the tawny color that works. Let's get that base color down. And what I like about the burnt sienna is it's textured, it's got plenty of pigment particles that help make it look more like fur. Now the eyes, I'm going to make them golden yellow, just a tiny bit lighter than his fur. They're very strange eye color. It's going to be brighter than I want it first. And then I'm going to come in with pencil and darken the edges and give him that kind of eyeliner look. He's so cute. And maybe some just brown for that. Oh, let's get that liana branch going. Oh, I forgot his tail. It's funny how you get too involved. And you forget things like that until you look up and so what you'll want to do after your liana dries is go in and add shadow under the toes and things so that it shows the depth. And you can see I missed a spot in his belly. And I need the tail doesn't appear to be furred. It appears to be more like a rat's tail. So I'm going to do just a hint of pink and mix that with some of the yellow, which is what I should have done for the toes. But I'll come back and work on that once this is dried a bit more. Okay, I'm going to step away. I'll come back to the eyes later. They're kind of obscured, but I want to add that eyeliner like and fix that. So like so that's still too damp to work on, which is can be good. Oh, and I forgot to write the information about him. The other thing you want to do is enhance that kind of bulbous look around his eyeballs. You can see here I got some, I'll add more with the pencil. So this is, what do we want, number 5? This is our Philippine tarsier. Okay, and that is Carlito. What a great species name or genus. Siricta. And he is known as a haplorhine, rhine being nose. Haplo is dry nose. And maritime Southeast Asia. And only strictly carnivorous. Uh-oh, I ran out of room. Primate. And the head, you could write head moves 180 degrees. But we'll be coming back to him to finish that up because it's time to move to our next species. So you can see how that's going to come together. And we'll use some watercolor to enhance him in a bit. But where are we going next? We are headed to North America. And this is a place where I just was, and this is my photo. This is a northern elephant seal, and Merunga angustorostris. And they are found from Baja to Alaska. And that proboscis on the males is a big floppy thing that comes down. The older, the bigger. And it's used in making extraordinary loud roaring noises. And let's listen to that. Hold on. Ready? Let's see. I'm going to turn up my sound. Crazy, isn't it? So we were just there, and there were a few males just doing that, and it sounds like amazing, like buckets being emptied, or gosh, this just it's very hard to describe it, like a giant drain emptying sometimes, like glug 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 glug. They're huge. So the biggest males can be the maximum record they've measured a big male is 8,000 pounds. And they can be like 16 or more feet long. That's the size of a Ford F-350 truck, and the weight, and a little bit shorter. So massive. The males next, and I'm strictly talking males on this here because I just couldn't cover it all. So let's talk about these. These are two males. Furless neck, and they're really calloused because they fight like crazy. And during breeding season, which is coming up in spring, it's just bloody, and it's really crazy. And they go way deep into the benthic ocean floor to feed on organisms there. So they dive for long time and then come back up. So let's sketch the sky. I think what I'm going to do, you can do two, I think what I'm going to do is two sketches. I want to show kind of the length and just a quick and kind of a bullet shape here. And then I want to sketch that head and the proboscis, since that's specific to this elephant seal. So what I'll do, just to show the one at the top, I'm just going to do here's the kind of head thing, the proboscis, and then this bullet body. And they've got these interesting twin flippers you can't really see there. And about midway is fin there, and then a long neck. So what I wanted to just demonstrate here was the length. And this is his eye way up there. So give him some sand here. Because I want to put that this guy is, I estimated the one there to be about 12 feet in the photo. Didn't quite get the head right. Try not to sweat the details too much. So he's got just proboscis, then he's got kind of a little bit, two bumps there. I tend to go back and noodle, noodle, noodle. And he's kind of this purpley gray color. Then I think what would be fun is just right up above him. Let's sketch the crazy way they throw their head back. So easiest way.
Roseann,
Yeah.
where are the eyes located
It
on
is
their head?
okay, so
Are they tiny or something?
they are, and good spotting. So it took me let me show you guys here, just sketching. So many times placing the eyes this was done live in the field in Point Reyes in California. The eyes, I kept putting them in the wrong place. So the eyes, let me just, if you can see, there's the eye right there.
It's like on the back of their head.
Exactly.
Oh my, okay.
Here's the eye right there. Is that crazy? It's not where you expect it to be, so it feels really weird when you're sketching. It's like, oh, that looks weird. So definitely good spotting. So what I'm going to do then is, here's the chest. Come up. I'll anchor everything off this. There's his mouth. Comes up. It does this weird thing. The proboscis actually falls into his mouth when he throws his head back. And we watched them for quite some time, and it was crazy watching this stuff. So there's the bumps there. And then, oops, let me move that cursor, it's obscuring it. Here's the eye socket there. The head comes down, and then the back sort of goes up off of there. It's crazy. So here's kind of some rings there. Then you want to color this dark because that's the inside of the mouth. But then this comes up and there's like a big fold here. It's a crazy physiology. And then there's a tooth there, two teeth kind of sticking up there. And that eyeball is there. Now, is that just looks so completely bizarre? Totally not, like alien species. We're going to get, he's just got this flipper going on here that he's resting on. They can move on land by just flinging themselves forward on these flippers. It's really interesting. And then they're just completely scarred up. What you can't see in the photo, we can add a few here. There's tons of these whiskers all around. He's got rows of whiskers here. And we want to kind of show some of that there. And it's just all lumpy and crazy. Did I get that? Gonna make this a little higher, I think. Yeah, that's like, whoa. Okay, so let's get our info in here. This is our 6th northern elephant seal. And let's take a look at this info. Genus is Mirunga. So there's a southern, which is goes down toward the end of South America. Can't remember how much farther they go. I know. Actually, I need to look that up, the southern species. I ran out of space. How many of you like never leave enough space for the writing? That's always me. So they're huge, up to 8,000 pounds for the males. Females are quite a bit smaller, and 13 to 16 feet. And that proboscis is for making territorial noises. Actually, I'd call them roars. I'm sure they've been used in movies to make scary monster sounds. And it's kind of purpley blue, gray. The top one, and then they can range to be quite brown as well. So I'm mixing, trying to go like, see how I'm adding the burnt sienna so it's kind of mottled and not fully mixed together. Try that. And then is actually his head and proboscis were more brown. Had more brown. And I'm intentionally leaving it kind of open like that. And then I'm going to go in, and so if you do a little bit of dry brush, it can enhance the mottled look. Oops, I got a little bit of a, what do you hard mark from that. So throw in some burnt sienna because he definitely had a browner head, even though it doesn't show. All right. I'll have to work on that when it's drier. And then if you wanted to, I have some of this taupey color. I can use that for the sand. Yep. Okay, and then Mr. Big guy here. I'm using some of that taupe. So they do have some fur on the back, and the nose looked furry to me. And that kind of much brownier, kind of sable color, isn't it? Kind of. And it depends on how wet they were too. This guy seemed to have almost like a cape. Of color. Wow, that's like really hard to control here. There we go, a little bit better. And you want to get, if you want to get some of that scarring, you can add that with a lighter pen if you have it. All right, I'm going to call him good. If you want to get those teeth, I'll come in and with a darken of that maw, like so. Nice, very cool. I think love those guys. It was so much fun to spend so much time around large animals that weren't going anywhere. So they just lie around. But it's time for us to move on because we have two critters left. And now we're heading to the western side of Australia, where this creature was recently recorded. Absolutely fascinating. This is the world's longest animal. It's actually a giant siphonophore, which is not a single animal, but is a colony known as a physonect of tiny zooids, each zooid having a specific function. They cannot survive on their own. They act in symbiosis to make the whole siphonophore. It lives in the mesopelagic, between the mesopelagic and bathypelagic zone, so up to 2,300 feet deep. And this particular specimen that was recorded during the Schmidt Ocean Institute's deep sea expedition is 150 feet long, the longest one ever recorded, longer than a blue whale. And they are kind of like a death wall. So they do this spiral. The spiral is a feeding spiral, and all those tentacles that hang down are deadly stinging tentacles. And so this guy has no predator. It is kind of a massive, cool creature. So and then it has a buoyancy sac at one end, which is called a pneumatophore. And then each of these tentacles they twizzle, and those are the stinging ones, and they're called medusae, and they propel the creature. They're called nectophores. Oh, so cool. So how do we do that? Well, so if you have toned paper, that would work really well. It'd be much easier. You can try to sketch it on white. So in the back of my book, you'll see where I keep lots of stuff. I keep dark paper, I keep toned paper, cardboard for cutting things. I'm going to grab, see if I have a piece small enough of dark paper. And what I can do is actually glue that into, how do I get this? Sorry, guys. Into my notebook. And that way I can use either white gel pen or white gouache. This is my little sketching bag where I keep, this is where my watercolor kit lives. If those of you who have ever seen contact lenses, I cut a contact lens holder in half, and I keep white gouache in here. So it's fresh, which I don't like dried gouache. I think it just doesn't cover as much. So I always have gouache. So using white charcoal, black paper, dark paper, try that. Or if you want to lay down a wash of really dark, let it dry and then sketch on top of it with the white charcoal or something like that. Or just sketch it with a pencil. It doesn't matter. I just thought since I had the black, it would be kind of fun to show that. I'm going to show the spirally thing. Obviously, I can't get it all in there. But we can, looks like it just sort of did that. I can bring this over here and I can approximate the pneumatophore buoyancy bag there. And then show, it's about a broomstick. They said the thickness of a broomstick. So if you want to, and remember, this is deep benthic, so you're not going to see this at the surface. I'm not even sure it would survive at the surface. In fact, I'm quite sure it wouldn't. Leaving this smaller, it's farther away. And then we can show those nectophores, the medusae propellers. Kind of cool. as it gets farther away from my field of view, you want to make the each element smaller until it's just dots, really. And then let's see what this gouache can do. Oh, that's nice and thick. Too thick to show this kind of buoyancy bag thing. I think that worked. Some of the black paper color came off into my gouache. Interesting. If you use gouache with your brush, make sure you clean it really, really well so your next dip into your regular paints isn't messed up by the gouache. So putting that back, and let's write. See if my gel pen's working. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Yep, that's working. I don't know, those of you, sometimes they clog up or they dry out. It's been a while. So this is number 7. Giant siphonophore. And it does have a genus and species, even though it's a collection of zooids. So it is called a physonect. Which is a colony. See how I'm just not in love with gel pens. I'll have to come back and fill those in. These are the stinging medusae. And this is buoyancy. Oops, I forgot the U. Oh no. Don't you hate it when you do that? Buoyancy control. It's called a pneumatophore. Okay, and pneumatophore. And this is 150 feet. So I'll be able to paste that in to the notebook. Kind of cheating, kind of not. You know, you do what you do. I'll be curious to see what else you guys come up with. So we've come to the end. Oh no, this is our last critter. Where are we going? Okay, we're back to South America. And are you ready? No, I don't think you're ready for this. Seriously, this is because everybody needs in their life a pink fairy armadillo. Are you kidding? Is that the cutest thing you have ever seen? It's like a hamster size. Who would have thought? The pink fairy armadillo. I am not making this up. The smallest armadillo lives in the deserts of Argentina. It's only about 4 inches long, about 4 ounces. It's nocturnal, solitary. It's an insectivore. And that all that dense fuzzy fur underneath helps it thermoregulate in extreme temperatures because it can be very, very cold in those deserts as well as very, very hot. So let's sketch our, oh my gosh, a pink fairy armadillo. Seriously, you think I made this up? All right. His shape is probably pretty simple. We want to, I'm just going to sort of say, okay, here's the nose. Here's the tip of the little armor. I'm going to do just the basic shape. Just go ahead and get your basic shape in. It curves up, and then it's like a little helmet thing of his nose, like so. And I'm liking those. I think those proportions work because if you bring his little chin down, and then use dots because this is a furry guy. Don't want a solid lines here. Kind of comes up here, and then he's kind of got fur sticking out here. Yeah, that worked. I think I'll pull his, I think I need a little bit higher here. So he's got the little rostrum cover there. But I'm going to pull that up a little bit for his eye and then have it come down. Because he's got just this little eye right there. Very cute. And then you can see his kind of nose. And cheek there. And the shell is scalloped like so. So I'm going to just lightly mark, very lightly for now, the channels. And, try not to get too lost in the details, but it's pretty specific to the way he looks. So it's okay to spend a little bit of time here, and they get narrower toward the rear. And he's got like little furry bits coming out. And then you can just barely see his tail. Oops, didn't get that placed quite right. So the tail is coming down. And it looks like it's just textured a little bit. And if you want, you can just do a suggestion of the plates. But don't get too caught up in doing every single one. You can barely see them.
What big feet for such a little critter.
Yes, they're insectivorous, and so they dig for insects. So they are pretty powerful for their size, I imagine, in that harsh desert soil. So let's make sure we get those feet in. So about here, really big claws. And then you can just barely discern kind of some armoring on his hose there, or 4 feet. So just, do a suggestion of that and barely see here his and then the fur, you're just going to want to suggest the fluffy bits. And let's see what we can show. In terms of using paint. Let's see. It's very cute. Oh, we want to put his name. Not forget that. This is number 8. Number 80.
Is that a tail coming out of the back?
Yes. So just see it's a little paddle kind of sticking off the back for sure. I sort of put it here.
Okay, thank you.
If you Google it, there's some great videos of them running around. They're so cute. Because of obviously copyright, I can't just steal someone's video and show it. So definitely go look on YouTube. Chlamyphorus. Interesting genus. The armadillos are in the Americas. There's one in North America, and I think 2 or 3 in South America. It's only like around 4 inches and 4 ounces. Dense fur helps it thermoregulate. Wow, that word got really long. All right, let's get some paint on here. I have to clean the palette so we don't end up with a dirty pink. And they really are very pinky in the what do you call it? The videos were super pink. So I'm putting a very light wash first. Really, really making it light. And I didn't erase the graphite. You can do so if you don't want to risk muddying it up. I didn't lay down a lot of graphite, so it looks pretty good. And don't forget his tail and feet are doing the pink, kind of salmon pink, if you will. Don't forget the one in the back. And then there is a little bit of yellow. So I'm making a very pale yellow wash. So if we just, I may need a little bit more, barely put some yellow in to help enhance the look of the ridges. See how that works. And then we could go in a bit, if you have the time, it's still damp. You put in just, if you want to enhance some of the ridges with just a tiny bit of pure magenta. You see that? We can do that. It gets a little more pronounced toward the head and in the middle body. And then he's got little kind of scales around the head and on his toes. Now, to get that, we need to enhance this kind of buffy color. So again, yellow. And then guess what? I hit it with some burnt sienna. And that buffs it out. You make it really, really watery. Really watery. And do the edges like so. Where his fur's really sticking out. And see, I'm using kind of like dots because I don't want to fill it in fully. So I'm going to leave that for now. And then one thing I will do when I come back is I'm going to create some shadow color. I might use water-soluble graphite to do that. Sometimes that works really well if you've not seen it, but to put a shadow under his body. Nah, this is working fine. See that? That way we can enhance the furry look. I'm being pretty conservative initially, then I'll let it dry. You see that? And then I'll come back and darken the edges a little and get some dark around the feet. But that's good. We did really well this time. And we have, I think number 80 had to be the pink fairy armadillo. I mean, we all need that in our lives, don't we? Oh, I'm in love with this.
It's so cute.
Aren't they? Just amazing. Go look at the video. They're just too cute. But before we end, I want to debut what we're doing next because you guys are never going to let me stop doing these. So we are going, ready? We're going to do a drum roll here for the next series around the world in, you ready? 80 rocks.
Oh, wow.
Formations. Yay!
Yay.
So we'll be doing rocks, minerals, fossils, and
That's gonna be cool.
it's going to be so much fun. I'm here to tell you, I've been doing some pre-research to make sure it would work. So on each continent, we'll be picking minerals, rocks, fossils, and really cool formations to practice. So you'll get a chance. Here's something we did for fun in the New Mexico Field Arts Boot Camp in Ghost Ranch. We pulled a block diagram out that has a fossil in it, which is fossils were really, this is an important fossil area. And then I drew a pterodactyl. Actually, I got that idea from a participant and then found out later that was actually during this time period, it's a pterodactyl navajoensis. So it was true. So we're going to have a ton of fun with that. So everybody, thank you so much.
Thank you, Roseann.
Thank you, Roseann, so much.
Let me come
Yeah,
back.
thank you. It's been
Thank you
wonderful.
It's always so much fun.
So
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does anyone want to share what they've got, or everybody? Let's see. Let me switch to Carolyn. I've got you. Let me Carolyn, and then put your hand up, Meredith. Okay, let me do Carolyn. Thank you. Let's see what you got.
Okay. I've got these guys. I can't tell whether you can see them or not. There you go. Yeah. My hands on little fuzzy guy.
Wonderful. Did you do direct watercolor?
Pardon?
Did you do direct watercolor?
No, I use pencil and then watercolor.
You're fast.
I am. Yeah. Sometimes that's good, sometimes not so good, but yeah. It was fun. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, let's see. Go back to, I'll do Meredith next. So, yay, Meredith. Oh, turn your audio on. We can't hear you.
There we go.
Oh, nice.
I joined late. I apologize for that. So I got most of the little guy. I'm liking my walrus.
Nice.
And I got the base, base
Feel.
Elephant
yeah, the base color for the sea creature.
Yes.
And then my fairy guy.
Yay! Nicely done. Well done. Oh, I love accordion works well for these, doesn't it? Like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I've done them all the ones I've participated in an accordion, and then I have a set of them.
How nice. Oh, I would love to see a photo of them all together. That would be fun. That would be fun.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Lisa, turn your video on so I can spotlight you. There you go. Okay, let me pull you up. Fun. Okay.
All right. I got the
Yay. Oh, look at that.
and then
I can tell you're just really getting a proportions great and colors. Oh, fantastic. Well done. Oh, I like the way you did the siphonophore. Good idea.
I actually used watercolor pencil.
Oh, great.
Nice.
And then you pulled the color off.
Just
to make
pull the
it
color down. Yeah.
Perfect idea. Love it. Oh, I just love to see everybody's. Be sure to take photos and send them to me so I can share these on the website. It's so much fun to see and so important to see. Everybody has their own style and everything is good. The only bad drawing we do is the one we don't do. And the one we're too chicken to do, right? So I feel like so much more confident sketching any animals now, even the live ones, although I have to say elephant seals were easy because they don't move. Um, although it was really hard to get their mouths because they do move those and they're flopping that thing around. And I was with Lena and a couple other people, and we were just having the Kate Rudder. We just kept saying, "What? What?" Anyway, it's not easy, and this was so much fun. And rocks are going to be great because they don't run away, do they? So, any geologists out there, send ideas. But it'll be a whole different, excuse the pun, animal, right? Rocks, there's just going to be a different way to approach textures, and we're going to have to really dive deep into simplification, because rocks and formations and things like that, you want to get sucked into doing every single possible detail, and you can't. So we'll be focusing on how to capture really the essence of our rocks, fossils, and formations. So I'll be announcing that as soon as I can get a look at my schedule and see what February looks like. So thank you all. I put the if any little tips help. It takes hours to put these together, so I really appreciate those. Thank you all so much, and looking forward to rocks. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.